Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is April 2nd, 2023, and Barcelona defeated Elche yesterday 0-4 to maintain their leadership at the top of the Spanish league. Also, bad news in regards to the Copa del Rey, as it looks like Frenkie De Jong is now a doubt to start on that match that will take place on Wednesday, April 5th. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and I'd like to apologize for not uploading a video yesterday. Unfortunately, there was a power outage on my block where a drunk driver hit an electric pole, so there was no electricity for many hours until the repairs were made, and now electricity is back on. So please be careful out there when you're driving, and more importantly, do not drink and drive. It is not a game. You can hurt yourself, and more importantly, you can hurt others. Now, the second thing I would like to mention before we begin with the news is that I had to split today's video into two videos because since I didn't make a video yesterday, I had to cover the news from yesterday and from today. So my video ended up being 20 minutes. So I didn't want it to be that long. So I split it into two videos. This is the first one where I'm gonna go into a detailed review of yesterday's match along with some news regarding yesterday's match and the upcoming match in El Clasico. And the second video will be more of a general news video, which do not skip. There's a lot of important news in that video as well. Now let's begin with the news that Barcelona defeated Elche yesterday 0-4 with a lineup that had a lot of rotations in it. Some of it was in order to rest the players for a Clasico match that will be played on Wednesday in the Copa del Rey. And another reason was also due to the many injuries that Barcelona are currently facing. Now Barcelona lined up with Marc ter Stegen in the goal, Jules Koundé in the right back position, Ronald Araujo and as a center back, and then we saw Marcos Alonso replace Andreas Christensen, who's currently injured, and then Jordi Alba replacing Alejandro Balde in the left back position. And I'm guessing this was done in order to rest Balde ahead of El Clasico match, because after all, Balde did play one match with Spain during the international break. Now in the midfield, we had more rotations with Eric Garcia playing in that pivot position in the place of Sergio Busquets, who I also think Xavi did this in order to rest Busquets ahead of El Clasico match. Gabi played on the right as a right interior, replacing Frenkie De Jong, who's currently injured. And then we saw Sergio Roberto playing as a left interior, replacing Pedri, who is also injured. Now in the attack, we saw Robert Lewandowski as the center forward, accompanied with Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati on the wings, replacing the injured Ousmane Dembele and Rafinha, who's currently serving a one-match suspension after accumulating 5 yellow cards in La Liga. Now, despite all of these rotations, the team had a great match. During the first 20 minutes, they had a lot of good first touch passes and very quick, fast transitions. And in fact, I thought that the team did this more than when the starters played. But again, this was a match against Elche, who are currently sitting at the bottom of La Liga table, but nonetheless, the team looked very compact and they played very well during the first 20 minutes, which of course led to Robert Lewandowski scoring in the first goal of the match. Now, what I didn't like about the first half is that after Barcelona was up 1-0, they reduced the intensity and they started kind of like waiting back for Elche to make some moves. Now, I don't know if this was done on purpose in order to tire out Elche or if this was just done out of a bad habit, because we have seen Barcelona do this a lot after scoring the first goal, reducing the intensity. But nonetheless, the team picked up that intensity in the second half, and they were able to maintain it throughout the entire second half, which allowed Barcelona to score 3 more goals, 1 more by Lewandowski, 1 by Ansu Fati, and 1 by Ferran Torres. Now, despite the team having a lot of rotations, all the players that came off the bench did an excellent job, starting with Marcos Alonso, who once again did a great job in the center back position. And I've said this before, I don't understand why people hate on Marcos Alonso. Every time he's played, he's always done his job, and yesterday's match was no different. Now, Jordi Alba also did great in the left back position, contributing a lot to the attack with those deep runs that he was making on the left flank. And of course, the big surprise from yesterday's match was Eric Garcia playing in that pivot position. and I think that he did a really good job. Now, he didn't do an exceptional job. He wasn't no Sergio Busquets. There was some times where his positioning was a little bit off, or where he was too in a hurry to attack with his teammates rather than staying back in order to maintain a control of the midfield. But again, we're talking about a player that's playing in this position for the first time in his entire career. So despite that, he did an excellent job. And once you add to that the fact that Eric Garcia hasn't played for many matches, and usually when players come back to play after not playing for a long time, it also hurts their performance. And despite all of this, Eric Garcia still did a pretty good job in that pivot position. And I'm very happy because if Eric Garcia ends up working out in a pivot position, I think it would be a huge win for Barcelona, because Eric Garcia is 22 years old, which means Barcelona would have a pivot for many years to come. He's also, as a 22-year-old, means he has plenty of room to improve, so it means he could continue to get better match after match. And also, Eric Garcia cost Barcelona €0, so that would be also a big win for the club. And finally, if Eric Garcia works out in a pivot position, it means that Barcelona would save money because they wouldn't have to sign anyone come the summer. Now, of course, it is too early to tell whether this is Eric's new position, because this was only one match that he's played, and it was against Elche, who are sitting at the bottom of the Liga table. But nonetheless, I was happy with Eric Garcia's performance. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think as Eric Garcia in a pivot position? Is this something that Xabi should continue trying, or was this a one-time thing? Drop a comment down below. Now, speaking of Eric Garcia playing in that pivot position, in the post-match press conference, Xabi admitted that the idea of having Eric Garcia playing that pivot position was actually not his. It was Jordi Cruyff's idea that he had suggested a few months back. And then Xabi decided to listen to him and try out Eric Garcia in the trainings. And once he saw that Eric Garcia had begun to feel more and more comfortable in that position, he decided to try him out in yesterday's match. And Xabi thinks that he has found his new pivot. But of course, as I already said, it's a little bit too early to determine that for sure. But hopefully that is the case, because that would be a huge win for Barcelona. Now, another player that also exceeded my expectations was Sergio Roberto. And I think that he's been having a lot of excellent matches as of late. He was very active on the field, constantly making deep runs to contribute to the attack, and then coming back down to help the defense with his defensive duties. And I was very happy with his performance. And finally, we have Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati, who did make a lot of mistakes, but also had some flashes of brilliance. But what I do like about these two players is that even though they're going through very rough patches, they are not afraid of trying things out. They are not afraid of trying to dribble. They are not afraid of taking shots from outside the penalty box. And that's very important for a forward. The important thing is that they try things. And that's something that I always criticize Rafinha, because Rafinha always seems to be too scared to try things out. He doesn't try to dribble. He always tries to pass the ball, either make a back pass or a side pass. I don't know if he's too afraid of losing the ball and looking bad, but you have to try things out. Even if you end up losing the ball, it's better to try something and lose the ball rather than being scared and not trying out and then missing an opportunity. And that's what I liked about Ferran and Ansu in yesterday's match, is that they both were trying things out. Even when they lost the ball, they tried it again and again, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But this is very important for them to begin regaining their performance and regaining their confidence. Now, another thing that I was very happy about in yesterday's match was that all the forwards scored goals. In the case of Lewandowski, he scored a brace, which I think was very important, because when center forwards go a long time without scoring goals, that ends up affecting their confidence. And that's when we see center forwards go a long time without scoring goals and hitting those droughts. So it's very important that Lewandowski scored not just one, but 2 goals, because that's going to go a long way and help him restore his confidence and continue to score goals, because he hadn't scored many since he came back from the World Cup. Now, I was also very happy that both Ansu Fati and Ferran Torres also scored their respective goals, because that's going to go a long way in helping these two players rediscover themselves and regain their confidence. And again, when players succeed at Barcelona, the entire team succeeds. So I'm very happy that all three were able to score goals. Now, another thing that I was happy about in yesterday's match is that we showed that we have a complete squad, because even though six starting players were not on the field, Barcelona were still able to perform good. They were still able to win and get those three very important points, which means that Xavi has a complete squad and that we are able to rotate players without sacrificing performance. Finally, I think that yesterday's match was probably the haters' worst nightmare, because we saw Eric Garcia play well, Marcos Alonso play well, Ferran Torres score a goal, Ansu Fati score a goal, and even Sergio Roberto play well. So I think that was definitely the haters' worst nightmare, because all these players who get a lot of hate, many of them unjustifiably, all performed and showed up in yesterday's match, which goes to show that it's very important that we support our team and we support our players. We already have enough hate from everybody around the world, either with the Enrique Negreira case or with the campaign against Gabi. It's very important that we always support our players and our team, and that we stop hating on our own players and we stop tearing each other because certain players we don't like over others. Now, with this victory, Barcelona took home three very important points, which put them 15 points ahead of Real Madrid. But Madrid did win their respective match today against Real Valladolid, and as such, the difference was cut back to 12 points again. But nonetheless, that's still a significant difference, because there hasn't been any team in the history of La Liga to be 12 points ahead and then end up losing La Liga's title race. Now, Barcelona will switch their focus now to the Copa del Rey, where they're due to face off against Real Madrid on Wednesday, April 5th, in that second leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final, where Barcelona will need to either win or draw 0-0 in order to move forward to the final of the Spanish Cup. Now, speaking of the Copa del Rey, today there was a report stating that Frenkie De Jong had felt a little bit of discomfort during the training in today's morning. So now he is a huge doubt for El Clasico match, which is of course a big loss for Barcelona, given that Pedri is also going to miss that match. So I think it's very important that we look at what's going on with all these muscle injuries, because yes, injuries are part of the game and all teams go through this. But nonetheless, what I don't like is that how all these players are re-injuring themselves, like Dembele and Pedri, who were both thought to be ready to come back, but then something happened which has delayed their comeback date. And it looks like Frenkie De Jong has gone through the same thing, where it was thought that he would be back for a Clasico match, but now it looks like he has felt more discomfort, so he's going to be out even longer. So I think Barcelona really need to look at what's going on at the club, whether it's the doctors, the fitness trainers, or the whomever. Barcelona need to figure out why these players are getting re-injured and their recovery is taking longer than initially anticipated. Now, despite this bad news, there is the good news that Real Madrid did play their match today, which means that they're gonna have one less day of rest ahead of El Clasico match. And of course, Barcelona will be playing at the Spotify Camp Nou, so that will be another advantage for the Blaugranas. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a like. Also, I would like to invite all of you to please leave a comment down below, giving me all your thoughts and opinions about all the news that I share with you. And finally, I would like to invite all of you to please subscribe to the channel so you can stay current on all the latest news in regards to our beloved club, FC Barcelona. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. And as always, Visca Barça.